of time, son. Open those doors. Guns
Oh boy, where do I begin? I've lost count how many times I've rewritten my script in review because I feel I'm going to rough someone's feathers. So, I'm gonna go straight to it. TimeShift is, simply put, a mess. An undercooked mess. Released in 2007, spending at least 2 years prior in publishing and development hell, multiple delays, and at least 3 story rewrites, Saber Interactive's hope for first IP with practically zero marketing. When it came out, nobody noticed, which I believe is worse than being critically panned. And those that noticed sat down to play, and all it received was meh. Sadly, this is my impression of the game as well. It had interesting ideas, but they were buried in inconsistency, questionable decisions, and putting all eggs into one basket in the eyes of one revolutionary at the time mechanic. The developers bet so much on that mechanic, in fact, too much I'd say, and failed to see that they have pretty much neglected big portion of the rest. Get comfy and let's find out how this reinvention of the wheel led to yet another rectangular. Oh, and before I begin, I've decided each game will be judged in the same 3 categories: story, gameplay, presentation, meaning graphics, audio, sound, etc., and a final score at the end. This hasn't changed. What has changed is the scoring system. From the scoring of 1 to 10, which I used previously, I revamped it to the simpler and more straightforward 5-star system. 1 star essentially is a disappointment through and through. Stay away from this game if you value your sanity and wallet. 2 stars, not bad, but definitely not good either. More for the morbidly curious. 3 stars, showing promise, could have been so much better, still can be enjoyed. 4 stars, a good game with noticeable flaws here and there, which can be overlooked. And 5 stars, well, that will be reserved for the truly wow games. Lastly, and this is important, this is my opinion, okay? I'm no IGN or Kotaku. If you don't agree with me, that's fine, no problem. If I don't like a certain game, but you happen to have it in a special place in your heart, all the power to you. I'm not in the business to convince you otherwise. Now that we have that covered, let's begin.
Everybody out! Evac!
I played the game as expected from beginning to end. Would you believe me if I tell you all this time, all those 6 hours and 39 minute single player campaign, I had almost no clue what is going on. So, according to Wikipedia, and not the game itself, you're welcome, the story is as follows. Scientists find a way to travel back in time using a suit called the Alpha Suit, in order to guard from potential time paradoxes, aka time cop. They create and test a second variation of the first suit, which has more militaristic approach and embedded AI called SSAM, or SAM. This one called, you guessed it, Beta Suit. I wonder if the Gamma Suit is gonna come in green. Head scientist for both suits, Dr. Aidan Crone, decides out of the blue to just take the Alpha Suit, rig the whole place to explode, go back in time in the 1930s to live out, I guess, his dream of having his own regime that rhymes with Yahtzee. You play as a silent, nameless protagonist, based on what Wikipedia says, supposedly a fellow scientist who rushes to get the beta suit and go after Dr. Crone. You escape in the nick of time. You travel to 1939, to a dystopian past, more specifically the Alpha District, where Dr. Crone at this time and his Yahtzee regime, I mean Crone Magistrate, has got the whole world under his boot and under his giant steampunk-inspired walking fortress. Your suit, thanks to Sam, saves you from certain death by throwing you even further back in time and also breaking up the suit, making it virtually impossible for you to return to the normal timeline or anywhere else. Just like the Yahtzee regime, there is also a form of a resistance called the Occupants, who want to inspire a rebellion against Crone and his regime. Seeing you have no choice but to do all the work, I mean assist the Occupants in their noble rebellion cause, this is also the only possibility for you to get close to Crone and to be able to repair your suit. The story itself, literally spoon-fed, and I mean with the smallest spoon in existence, in these random cinematic flashes. I say random because they appear at random, sometimes in the beginning of a mission sections, sometimes mid-mission, out of nowhere, no warning.
Fuck you, what do you need, or nothing?
Neural systems online. Initiating neural stimuli.
I got your message. A business proposal, huh? I'm intrigued. See you at 8.
Completely disjointed. In one, colleague scientist tells you about the good old theory of the timeline branching. Next one, you're in bed with another scientist after you both had talking about her worries of Dr. Crone. It's a mess.
Explain to me what the hell is going on.
It definitely doesn't help the fact each of those cutscenes is no longer than a couple of seconds. Pair that with the sudden appearance of the cutscenes. When they start, it takes you by surprise, almost literally giving you a whiplash, and before you're even able to assess that you are watching a cutscene and finish mothering at the same time, it's already finished, and you're back in the mission. You can tell the cutscenes are not in the chronological order, which further adds to the confusion. It's not a bad premise, but the storytelling was not on par here, and it's not being told in a coherent way. The time travel topic can be a very tough one to tackle, as it has so many intricacies and things to have in mind. Rules that everyone with more than 2 brain cells knows about time traveling are what? Whether you do or change action, in other words, has its supposed reaction or consequence, cause and effect. What else? Did I hear butterfly effect? Yes, great job. What else? Ripple effect. When I got to the ending, I could tell whoever wrote that story must have missed a memo. To the point when I saw it, I lost it, but not really in a good way. Okay, let's put the time travel thing aside. Why would Dr. Crone do what he did? Taking the suit, making his own regime. Was he planning this all along? Did he just had a weird dream the night before? What about our guy? Who is he? Freeman was also mute, but at least we knew he was a scientist. This one is supposedly such. Some of the cutscenes I was able to pay attention to somehow. They made me feel as if something ain't fully clear about our guy either. Is he really a scientist? Because of that cutscene here? Kinda begs to differ.
I think Crone knows I'm helping you. I don't know what to do. He's scaring me.
We are a go. I say again, we are a go. If Crone attempts to make a jump, eliminate him.
So many questions and so many plot holes. Who is he? Who is she? If this is supposed to be 1939, where did it transport me? Is this the United States? Is this France? Is this Trinidad and Tobago? Who the f cares, right? If the story is supposed to be a solid wall, TimeShift's plot resembles more of a chain-linked fence. It wants to be a sci-fi, wants to be alternative history, it wants to be a steampunkish with the Tesla coils and the walking fortress. The game doesn't know what it wants to be as a type of story and setting. Well, here's what I think of the story. 2 stars. And for the record, I'm being generous here.
Electrical source.
If you enjoy my honest reviews and want to see more, make sure you like this video and you click on the subscribe button plus the notification bell to be notified for when I upload new gaming reviews. I'm still a small channel and this would really help my growth. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Now, let's get back to the topic at hand. TimeShift is a first-person shooter. The levels are divided into sections, each separated by a loading screen, as linear as they can get. No alternative paths, literally zero chance for you to get lost. This game is going to frustrate you a lot in the beginning until you get used to it. First questionable decision, you have two ways of moving on foot, crouching and what I would consider a light morning jog. There is no sprinting.
Come again.
You heard me. This will be the fastest you would be moving when on foot. Even games like Doom or Quake have sprinting. Make it to require stamina if you want, but no sprinting? I lost track how many times by a force of habit I would be holding down the left shift in order to sprint, only to see no change in the speed of movement. You've got a couple of sections where you traverse with a quad bike, which looked more as if it was trying to imitate another game, but we're not going to talk about that. This game is, I would say, more of a stealth first-person shooter, and I'm using stealth here very loosely. I mean, in the sense that even if you have regenerative health, you will die, and die often, and very quick. Don't try to be Captain Price or Assault McTavish, this is not Call of Duty. The trick is to stick to high walls and objects, crouch behind them, and do your best to take out your enemies by surprise. Going guns blazing leads to only one outcome. The AI is frustratingly good at times, doesn't around. I played on a medium difficulty and very often I was dying left and right diagonally. The game likes to try to overwhelm you in numbers. If you're up against more than 4 or 5 enemies at the time, which will be about 3/4 of the game, the AI becomes very annoyingly brave, charging you and surrounding you, trying to flank you at every possible way. If you're out in the open, away from any objects to hide behind, pair this with the careless Sunday morning jog, couple of shots in and you're dead. This suit has no armor, no shield or anything as we normally have to come to expect. The enemies seem to be the other way around with a full tactical gear from head to toe. Compared to them, seem and feel as if I'm out there in the cargo pants and the trucker's hat. You're performing hip fire as there is no ADS system or aiming down the sights, as we've come to take for granted in majority of other shooters. The best you can hope for is a small zoom which zooms in on what's in front of you to give you less of a shoot and pray feel. Although you can be at times a stormtrooper, especially with the assault rifle, the enemy AI is very accurate, constantly tries to get the edge over you, trying to flank you, grenading your position to flush you out, taking cover. Genuinely, the AI shows promise. Not to the level of enemies in Fear, but it does. Of course, you had the stupid cases where they treat the chain link fence as a solid wall,
But still.
better than a majority of the games. There were times where I had a group of enemies shooting at me with pinpoint accuracy and I didn't have the best weapons for long range equipped. And I felt like Tom Cruise in Edge of Tomorrow, constantly dying and every time I reload to try a different approach or different angles. I promise you, you will be abusing the quick save after every encounter you survive like Tony Montana on a mountain of Yayo. You are sometimes accompanied by friendlies, part of the Occupants resistance, who join the shootouts in some section of the levels, just so you don't feel completely alone. Enemies and friendlies shoot each other, the enemy registers you plus company, so I was happy to see that I'm not the only person of bullet interest. If a particular enemy is busy shooting at the resistance and starts to receive more fire from you, they will naturally turn their sights on you, and you will be as if you have stirred the hornet's nest. Do friendly bots essentially kill enemies? Yes, they do, albeit at a much slower rate than you would. If you try to hide somewhere and let the bots duke it out, sooner or later the enemy will start its usual strategies of flanking you, charging you, or grenade flushing you to find you and subsequently kill you. Throughout the levels, you will be in touch with the leader of the resistance, Cooke, who will be pretty much barking you orders left and right as if you are his personal butler, to the point where it feels as if I'm doing all the resistance work and Cooke and friends are just there to reap the rewards. At times, Cooke gives you the imaginary pat on the back for the good job you do, just so you don't feel too taken advantage of. And God forbid you lose your train of thought and forget what you need to do or where to go. And if you don't do his instructions right now, yesterday, on the double, you're gonna get an earful.
Get that jet loaded. We're not going anywhere without it. Soldier, load that jet now. We're running out of time, son. Open those doors. Get the gates open. We're sitting ducks out here. Find that switch. Open the gates. You need to open the hangar gate so we can get the drop jet inside. Hurry. Release the anchors. We can get out of here. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
When it comes to the weapons, your character can have maximum up to 3 weapons on you. You've got the standard pistol you start at the very beginning, who you basically never look back to once you find the next weapon, which will be the standard assault rifle or carbine. Then you have the scatter gun, aka the shotgun in this game, Uzi with a dragonfire bullets,
Not bad, not bad.
energy ball gun, Tesla gun, sniper, rocket launcher.
Now we're getting somewhere.
And then there is one weapon which I never thought in a million years I would use in a shooter and use so much. Crossbow with exploding arrows. As long as you are not shooting an enemy with it at point blank range to blow up in your face, this is the most universal weapon in the whole arsenal. You can pretty much pass the whole game with it. Noticeably, the shooting mechanic here for TimeShift that was used was the type of bullets as objects traveling to enemy hitboxes as projectiles. Frankly, you don't know what's ahead, so you're not sure which weapon is best to have, but it's a good strategy to have at least one weapon for close quarters. That will be the scatter gun. High damage output weapon if you can find, such as the rocket launcher or the Tesla gun. And, of course, without question, the crossbow. Just be mindful for the crossbow that if you're shooting at enemies far away from you, the arrow would seem like it needs 2 to 5 business days to hit your enemy, during which time the enemy would have switched positions at least 5 times by now. Weapons are a little inconsistent. Sometimes it takes a couple of shots, sometimes it takes half a magazine. And now, the very core mechanic and main selling point of TimeShift, which is the inherent superpower of your beta suit. Time manipulation. If before felt like a toddler playing airsoft with Navy SEALs, now with the time manipulation capabilities of your suit, you'll be able to even the odds a little bit. Your suit has 3 options. The slow down mode, which is the Timmel.com version of bullet time, completely freeze time, and even reverse time. The first 2 are going to be the most useful for you during shootouts, while the reversing time mechanic would be more often utilized when you're facing a path problem. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm not sure how, but at times the game tries to figure out which power is best for you for the current moment, so with a single click of the F button on the keyboard, you will slow time, or if the game has figured you need freeze time instead, specifically the latter being useful when you're facing enemies with energy shields, as freezing time is basically freezing everything at an atomic level. And since energy is a constant movement and flow, it practically freezes the atoms in place as well, therefore no shield for the duration of the freeze time mechanic.
Nice.
As I have earlier mentioned, this game can be punishing if you are out in the open, so slowing time or freezing would potentially help you, give you the edge and an opportunity to take out at least half of the opposition while moving closer to a cover. You can also manually choose which power you want activated.
Yeah, well, thank God for that.
Here are a couple of things that I didn't like, and some even broke immersion for me for a bit. While you enter slow motion, or better yet freeze time, everything freezes except you. That's fine, you move with normal speed.
Keep going, keep going.
When you shoot, bullets and projectiles travel as if time is flowing normally, which, when you think about it, it throws completely out the window all laws of physics. Forget the character, he has the suit is supposed to, by design, break those laws. The weapons, though, are not part of your suit, so therefore, they should also still obey the laws of physics. That was a little weird for me. The thing that I didn't like about the time manipulation mechanic was it uses a charge that drains so fast.
And it's gone!
and takes pretty long time to recharge. You become like a junkie. You depend on those powers in order for you to stay alive or live long enough to get to a spot where you can hide and actually regenerate. I've lost count how many times I died because the game surprised me. I was not in reach of a place to hide, had no or just drained my time manipulation charge. Again, considering also my absolute lack of urgency when it came to running, I end up burning the screen into my brain. This is not an RPG, so there are no upgrades or any form of leveling up, so like it or not, long or short range, that's the charge you will have to carry till the end of the game. Except during enemy encounters, you will use the time manipulation powers to traverse the levels. For example, when I set freeze time, freezes everything around you on an atomic level, which means you can pass directly through fire and electricity and water even, without any harm, which I have to admit, that's cool. In fact, not a small part of the traversal will be dependent on the right choice of time manipulation and most importantly, the right timing to use it. The levels are full of so many time manipulation puzzles to the point of nausea. Ranging from once you pull this lever you got exactly 0.017 and a quarter seconds before the platform starts moving, and so you better be already there, to such that will require 3 to 4 minutes of head scratching. They're not particularly hard to figure it out. Some are indeed cool, like the part where you had to pass long, narrow corridor with 4 rocket launcher sentries and turn them off one by slowing down time and dodging the rockets fired as if you were the Flash. The trickiest ones to pull, at least for me, were the ones which you needed to reverse time. As in order to progress, you need to actually go somewhere where the item used to be. I think there were like total of 3 or 4 such in the whole game, for which I think thank God, as they can be a little inconsistent. You see, if you perform it correctly, observe that all of a sudden your limited power charge starts to drain a lot more slowly in order for you to be able to get to where you're supposed to be going. If you didn't prompt the manipulation correctly, or you got early, or you got too late, it will drain in 2 seconds and you're stuck again. I'm sure it seemed like a novel idea, the whole use your time powers to get where you should. My honest opinion, I think they went a little overboard with this. Using the time powers to get somewhere, observe, this is not some form of alternative way to move forward. This is the only way forward.
Oh, come on now.
You have a radar at the top right corner pinpointing friendlies, enemies, and your next objective. Along with it, if it's on the same level or above or below you, which comes especially handy during shootouts, and I'll explain that in the next part. The single player campaign will take you about 5 to 6 hours to complete. I played on medium difficulty, and I'd say that the 39 minutes out of the total were me dying over and over again at certain points, or spending a couple of minutes to figure out the time manipulation gimmick I needed to perform in order for me to proceed. Haven't bothered to check the multiplayer because I don't believe I need to explain myself. We talk about an almost 20-year-old game, a game that went almost completely unnoticed, so safe to say I'm pretty sure it had multiplayer at the time of launch. Now, most likely not. In conclusion, the fights are clunky. You're not meant to have the shootouts without the use of the time manipulation. I mean, you can, but the chance of you making holes in the walls after the 7th death in the row in the span of 3 minutes raises dangerously high that chance. Too much reliance on the time manipulation mechanic to the point where novelty wears off. Time puzzles themselves don't annoy and are more or less straightforward. No sprinting, I still can't compute that decision. Super linear levels, no hidden Easter eggs, no collectibles. You got an option of extras in the main menu that shows you concept art if you're into that kind of stuff. Cool, I guess. Gameplay, I'm gonna give it 2 stars. If it had the sprinting, I would have given it the 3. TimeShift for me looked like a standalone mod for Unreal Tournament. While not necessarily a bad thing, but by taking a look at what else came out in 2007, for example, BioShock, Call of Duty 4, Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl, Crysis, you can tell that TimeShift was falling behind in the graphics department. Compared to Call of Duty models, for example, TimeShift's models look as if they're still stuck in the past, less polygons, more blocky. It's a bit like comparing the models from the original Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2. Now, if you're gonna tell me that I'm being too harsh and the game was supposed to be, after all, a 2005 release, it only released in 2007 due to being a publishing and development hell, well, how is that my fault? I'm just telling things as I see them. The environment is detailed, at times like trying to be like a photorealistic wallpaper, as this was a common practice for the time, to present environments as realistically as possible. When it comes to detailing of objects, such as consoles with buttons, I could never tell from a distance which one has something for me to click on, and which is just window dressing. As for their detail, compared to the level design of the ground and walls, object seems a bit falling behind in the detailing department. Rain effects actually look really nice for a game for pre-2010. The color palette is full of mostly dull colors, which would fit with the oppressive environment, I give them that. The weapon design is interesting. They seem to borrow a more futuristic design, although at times they feel bulky, which would be a deliberate choice since we're not fighting in 2030, we're fighting in 1930. The levels where you are in the ruined city, you fight in what seems to be abandoned, barely keeping it together buildings, with specific walls being fully destructible, which seemed cool, and I wish there was more such destructible environment in the game, but alas, other than the odd boxes you can melee, nothing else seems destructible here. Despite enemies having the ragdoll effect when dying, shooting at enemies somehow misses the impact factor. I felt as if I was shooting at potato sacks. Now, I don't know if this was a deliberate design choice, but the enemies, especially when you are in the shootouts out in the open, I can barely see the They blend in with the whole environment so well that before I can even register even one of them, I'm already looking at your dead screen. For this, the radar is pretty much the only way for you to find your enemies most of the time. In terms of audio and music in the game, notably, it does have a soundtrack. And you know what the problem was in that aspect? I had to actually search it on YouTube because I had zero memory of it. I'm here writing my script being like, wait, did this game have music? I don't think it did it? And it is such a shame that went so unnoticed during my playthrough because I took a listen to it and I gotta say, it's a banger. Sound quality of guns is okay, nothing special. Time manipulations had a specific sound, as if we're entering a teleport Star Trek series in the 60s, which, yeah, doesn't start to annoy at all after you hear it for the 40th time. For presentation, I'll give TimeShift 3 stars.
Come on, man! We gotta go!
I was from the number of people who actually heard about TimeShift right around the time it was released, but never got to experience it until 2026, and I figured it would be a good time for me to finally take a look at it. Frankly, for some stuff, such as the aiming down the sides, more destructible environments, more immersive storytelling, I dare to say we are nowadays a bit spoiled in that regard. Nevertheless, the game does have its flaws and questionable design choices. In fact, I can see the ideas, I can see some potential in the story. The time manipulation mechanics were the best selling point of the game, a novel idea which no other game at this time even thought of implementing. This game was trying to be Saber Interactive's own new IP, but alas, as an old proverb from my country says, one bird doesn't make it a spring. At times, I couldn't shake the feeling as if the game felt rushed and stitched together in the last minute and not pushed but more like shoved out. This game is for the morbidly curious. Once you finish it, there's really no point in replaying it. It has zero replayability value. Final score from me, I give this game 2 out of 5 stars. Could have been worse, but definitely could have been so much more. This is SaltyKal, and thanks for watching. See you next time.